Good morning. Welcome to Green Alignment, episode 6. I'm Kate Callison.
I'm Mary Cay.
And today is episode 6. I already said that, but really excited because we've been thinking about everything we want to talk to and share with you guys today. And so we kind of divided it up, and today we're going to talk about mind, body, and holistic wellness. And I think it's important to explain why we're doing this, because I think a lot of times people think posture work is all about physical. And Mary Cay, and she's going to dive into it more deeply, feel it's the holistic, whole body approach, because I don't think we realize that when we're stressed or when we're sad or when we're happy, it all affects our body. In fact, I was having a conversation with our son Jace the other day, and he's talking about when he plays D&D, he gets really excited and he's really into it and everything. And then last night we were driving his friend home. He's like, "Man, I'm exhausted." I'm like, "But you didn't run. You didn't do a keto." He goes, "Yeah, but some reason, like when I get really excited and everything, after all that emotional excitement, my body feels like I just worked out." So Mary and I thought it would be a really great segue into talking about how we really talk about our emotions and everything. So I'm going to ask Mary some questions, if you're okay. Do you have any thoughts on what I just shared? Because I'm just curious on what you think, how that all connects to posture work and stuff like that.
Well, I like your example because, for example, Chase loves D&D, and when he plays, he throws himself into it entirely. So he really embodies a character. He gets really excited about it. Yeah. And, it's a couple hours with his friends. There's a lot of socialization, a lot of interaction, he's just having the best time. But you're right, his body isn't moving. So how is it that he can be so exhausted? It just goes to show that all of our bodies are engaged with whatever we do. And stress can be both positive and negative.
Yeah, so I guess so my question to you is, how do emotions and posture work relate?
Well, for that, I think about emotions, potentially things like we were just talking about, excitement or possibly stress, even trauma, what happens in our lives. I was just thinking about posture, and perhaps we can do a little something movement wise to kind of feel it in our bodies. Okay, so
you want me to do it too?
Well, yeah, if you like. So let's just take a moment and put on a posture like a costume. Okay, so just slump in your seat. You're kind of slumped.
I'm already there.
Your shoulders, kind of round forward a little bit. And just from that position, not trying to be in any position, you're just here. What if you go into yourself and you ask yourself, what's happening? What are the emotions that surround this kind of body posture? Anything come up for you?
You mean like,
to me, it feels kind
it looks
of
like you're sad. Yeah, closed, protective, or just like unmotivated. Like you're like something that's affecting you heavily.
Yeah. So you can see that even just, she's looking at me and she can perceive, potentially read my posture to say, oh, something may not be all right. That doesn't look like a positive thing. When I'm in this position, I kind of feel a little sad. I feel introspective.
Yeah.
So then, and think about maybe what happens with your breath when you're in a position like this.
That's really shallow.
Yeah, it kind of is just right in here.
Yeah.
Not very expansive. Okay, so we've talked about emotions, we've talked about breath. What if we were to say you're at work, you're in this position and somebody comes into your office. You can see where my eyes are, right?
Yeah.
And I look up from this position, because this is my normal, I'm here on my phone and everything, and somebody comes in, I'm here.
Your head is still forward.
Yeah. So my head is way in front of my spine, but it's just, I don't want to change anything I'm doing. I'm busy. And I come into this position. The neck is super quenched, super scrunched back here. And it's moving into hyperextension. It doesn't have the support of the spine and the upper back, it's just hanging out there in space, and gravity's just bearing down on you.
Yeah.
So I was listening to a podcast just recently, and the guy was talking about, how posture affects us. And actually, when someone's depressed, sad, introspective, emotional state, their field of vision actually decreases.
Yeah.
And you can think about that as in the world of possibilities. As your actual vision field decreases, there's less possibility, right? Yeah. Your field of vision comes in, can get very narrow. So then what if we do the opposite of this? Okay. So now we go ahead and we kind of put our head back on our spine. We pull our shoulders back, maybe interlace our fingers and put them behind our head and pull our elbows back. And just feel what it's like to be in this position. One, our eyes have come up off the floor, and or off our lap, and we are looking out on the horizon. This is not something that you can do every day. It's a good stretch. I mean, it is something you could do every day, not every second, but it's something that brings the eyes up, the field of vision is increased. And
that's,
it pulls open the whole front of the body, the head's up over the spine, and temporarily you can get a full breath of air.
So if someone has challenges, like if they had a hurt shoulder or, and this is in general, I know you're not actually diving into PTX exercises, just ways to open your breath up and everything, but is there something like, people are so used to hunching over that when they do that, they may hesitate because they automatically think pain. So is there something that eases into it? So like, depending on the age, someone could be watching and they're 85 or maybe 70 and just...
It's not so much, I'm just trying to illustrate, that when we're in this slump position, which may be our normal position, our eyes are downcast. When we walk and our eyes are looking down at the ground, we're looking at our feet, we're feeling introspective. Literally, our field of vision has decreased.
Yeah.
And according to this one gentleman I was listening to, that, with emotional states that accompany that posture in the body, that it just actually is very kind of contracted. Whereas contrasting that with the head over the spine, the eyes on the horizon, the shoulders pulled back, the lungs then have the ability to go from a collapsed state into an expanded open state, and you can literally get more oxygen in.
Yeah, I think that's true because, when, like I'm working in the house or, I'm just focused on getting stuff done or applying for jobs. The minute I get up and I go for a walk or I go to work on my plants, I'm in the sun, I'm standing up better. My head is forward because ever since I have been doing the pasta work with you, my awareness of and my confidence have gotten better because I was always afraid, because of my knee replacements, I was always afraid to fall, because falling to me put a lot of fear and tension in my body that I wasn't really enjoying the walks. Because, with my dog who's like 85 pounds or whatever, he's the type of dog that if he sees a cat, I'm nothing. Like I'm not even considered. He just takes off like a bat out of hell. And meanwhile, I'm caught off guard or I'll fall. And so, but since I've been doing the posture work and it's been like 2 years and I've been better, I've been more dedicated now. And sometimes you got to take a break. I don't know. I can't really explain other people's behavior but myself. But since I've been doing it for 2 years, I don't look at the ground anymore. And, I have Zero shoes that help me with my my feet and stuff like that. But
Zero shoes are like barefoot shoes.
Yeah.
There's zero drop.
That could be a whole different topic on, because it starts with your whole
You can
body.
feel the ground.
100%. And it's so for me, I agree. I think when I walk, I can tell my posture has gotten so much better. I can also tell, because when you start doing this posture work, you actually become more aware of your body.
Yes.
Than you ever have before.
Yes.
If you're dedicated to it, if you're committed to it, it's not going to happen overnight, and you have to dedicate 10, maybe 20 minutes a day for yourself. And, but I agree. I think your whole posture changes when you have that confidence and you're walking straight. Whereas before, and I think I still do it because I hold a lot of stress in my jaws and my shoulders and stuff. But anyways, I agree. I think the way you hold your body and how posture work can help, it just gives you more confidence, I think.
A lot of people think about posture in the static sense.
Yeah.
It's just like stand up straight,
Yeah.
And when we do this position with the elbows pulling back, you could be like, oh, well, that's just very unnatural. I would never stand like that.
Yeah.
True. Posture is not meant to be that static held position. It's more of the relaxed muscular tension that happens to keep us in balance. So in this position, we're really long through the upper body. We're really short through this area of the neck. We're getting all this funny business out here.
Yeah.
The chest is really contracted. That is a posture. And unfortunately, when you're in that posture, moving from that posture every day, all the time, it lends itself to injury. Think about your walking, when you're hunched over like that and your head's like this and you're scared to fall. Well, one reason that you're scared to fall is that your head and your upper back are so far forward, you're halfway into the fall already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you hit something with your toe, it's going to be hard to recover.
Yeah.
And if you haven't worked, have good connection into your legs and balance, it's going to be really hard for you to grab your body and get yourself back in motion.
So, and I lead that into the next question. Like, a lot of people think confidence is all emotion. How does confidence and posture work together? Like, how are they connected?
Well, outside of the aspect of, like showing posture, demonstrates confidence, I think, for people who are perceiving us, when we're vitally engaged with good posture, we're feeling pretty relaxed in our body, but there's a readiness.
Yeah.
There's a lot of muscular connection through the body, neuromuscular connection that is just absolutely poised and ready for anything that comes before you. Capability feels good. And I think as we lose capability, sometimes our confidence can be shaken.
And fear.
Well, think about I don't know, I'll just talk for myself. Like when I get sick.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I'm laying around, not doing anything, feeling like crud. And I start thinking, gosh, is this it? Is this going to be the one? Am I going to get up from this? I don't know.
Well, that happens especially with your migraines because it knocks you out for 3 days, but you haven't had those in a while.
Thank you. Yeah.
However, it's true. When she gets sick, she becomes a zombie. Like, she doesn't eat. She sleeps a lot, which is really good. But I get concerned. Like, sometimes I think, do I need to hold a mirror to her nose, see if she's breathing? I mean, anyways, yeah.
Well, and that lack of movement, kind of breeds a feeling of, a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
But as you start to recover, you start to regain your breath, you start to regain your energy, you start to regain the muscular ability.
Yeah.
And then you get itchy to get out and get back into life. Movement is life, and posture is just where it's just that readiness for everything, that balance, that muscular ability to move through life with confidence no matter what. So yeah, I believe the two are very much connected.
Yeah.
And I also think that when you think back to those times when you took a break, you know, because you're like, I just don't have it in me. I am so
well, I think that's
caught up in my
self-sabotaging. Yeah.
head, you know?
I think it's like it's funny how the mind sabotages our activity, sabotages our motivation, you know. And to me, when I struggle with mental health, and especially now, and somehow we're groomed to associate happiness with the value of a dollar or a value of acknowledgement, when we really just need the validation of our bodies and our mind that we are living, we're breathing, and every day that you have, there's new discoveries. Now, I'm not preaching because I haven't found those discoveries in a while, but having a supportive family and stuff like that really helps. But I think that's why when it comes to putting yourself first, especially women, we tend to go through that guilty, like, oh, I should be paying attention to something else, or I have to go grocery shopping, or I have to walk the dog, or I have to take a shower and stuff like that. But when you put yourself first, it's almost like you're reborn, like you're dedicating something for yourself, only for you, nobody else. However, everybody else around you benefits from it when you're happy, or when you are energized. But no one can tell me or force me. Like Mary helps me by saying, hey, have you done your PTX? Now, some people might think that's annoying, like, oh God, but it's just, you know, for me, when I say, yeah, I did my PTX, it makes me feel good. So and when I say PTX, I don't mean PTX. That's just a process. That's just a word, how Mary was certified with Egoscue stuff. It's posture work general. It's posture work in a way to where there's no title to the work that you do. There's exercises, there's an app, but it's just a form of, I don't know, how would you describe it? I'm like, it's not, it's just, I'm so used to it because I use the app.
Yeah, PTX is an application that you can get on your computer, on your phone, that I deliver the exercises that are custom made for you through PTX. So every day she picks up her phone and she goes to her PTX app.
Yeah, and
what I do, I'm a PTX licensed therapist.
But you're
and I deliver my content through that. And
it helps because, like, Mary can see how my status is. I can rate how I feel. And, you know, back to the connection between the two, it's not just confidence. I think it's also that security. It's security of, I don't need equipment. Sure, there is equipment, but I don't need it. I can use chairs. I can use, furniture, you know, table, furniture, and stuff like that. And Mary works with you. But right,
I've got a wall.
But I agree. I think, and I have built my confidence. Because 2 years ago I was hardly moving and not really excited about certain things. Now I am, because I can get on the floor and hug my dog and stuff like that.
Yeah, so. And that's, you know, you have, when you're limited in your movement, your goals can be very modest, but those goals seem like mountains, you know?
Yeah.
And having a path up the mountain, it's exciting because then you're moving, you know, you're embracing life. And then once you get up there, literally your vantage point changes.
Yeah.
Right? You've conquered that objective. And now, knowing that you have that in your body, that capability, then you can see much farther. Your horizon actually has shifted. Your perspective has shifted.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting. And that lends itself, you know, in all of the journey, as well as the arrival, as well as the opportunities that are presented.
Yeah.
It's a great addition to one's overall health.
So, and, you know, that goes into, like, posture work can align with many different wellnesses, right? Like mindfulness and stuff like that. So what are other holistic practices that you can, like my holistic practice, and I wouldn't say I do it every day, but I do it when I'm really stressed, or I have, you know, me going through menopause, I have anxiety, sleeplessness, restlessness, sweats, all that kind of fun stuff as a woman. Um, One of the things that kind of coincides with my pasta work is EFT, it's an emotional freedom tapping, right, technique. And that's basically an active meditation form to where it hits all the acupuncture points with your finger. Like you go like this and stuff. And there's so many people out there that teaches it for free on YouTube. There's actually forums that you can follow. And I'm not one for meditation. Like like for me, meditation means different things. But when you say meditate, it's like in a dark room with no music and just were you in your mind. And usually I just fall asleep. I don't really find the beautiful waterfalls and the beaches and crap like that. However, EFT came into my life like 8 years ago or whatever. It's been a while. And active meditation, whether it's EFT or these days I've been just drawing. Like I have a notebook, several, and I just usually do an active practice like circles or squares or just ziggly lines and focusing on what I'm sad about, and how, and as I'm sad, I'm repeating like I have value, I'm worthy and stuff like that. And it's the same thing, a form of EFT to where you're associating what you're feeling, but also reestablishing that you love and accept yourself. And that form, kind of as you're moving through the meditation, you tend to start to feel relieved. Like that pressure of stress, that pressure that's constantly reminding you that you're not worthy and stuff, but you are. And I think having that on top of my posture work practices have really helped me. Hasn't solved the main issue of trying to seek value and stuff, but it has grounded me in a way to where I may embrace the depression, but it's not controlling my actions.
Okay.
Right. So is there any wellness practices or holistic practice that you do on top of posture work?
Well, I think that when I'm doing my posture work, I'm very, very mindful. I'm very much in the now. There's a lot of breathing work that goes along with the movement. And so that in itself is very good for me.
Yeah.
That said, years ago, I remember I was trying to cultivate a meditation practice, and I would sit down. Yeah, I actually did have music, I had an app to help lead me through it, whatever. And just within the first minute or two, there'd be this tension that was building up in my kind of left shoulder blade, that I'd start to roll the shoulder blade, try to click it, trying to get comfortable, moving around.
Your shoulder blade would click.
I just couldn't sit still, or it was constantly bugging me. And it was hard for me to be in the moment, to be in the now, if I wasn't just thinking about what's going on with that shoulder. I couldn't just release and let go. Because now I've worked a lot on the shoulder. There's still a lot of work that it needs to do, but it's so much better. I can sit down with so much more comfort.
Yeah.
And I can engage in my meditation practice and be able to release and let go and go deeper, because my body's not constantly, hey, yeah, are you paying attention? I'm out of place. I'm not happy, And so it really does help. I think it lends itself well to other things that you may be pursuing. For example, breath work, meditation work, and I love EFT. I think that's very powerful.
Well, I also wonder, technique. People think there's a certain practice or a certain exercise or meditation. And honestly, I think meditation is a natural process of focusing what brings you joy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like gardening.
Yes.
Like when I'm outside in
walking
the
sun, dog, when you're cooking,
Yeah, especially when I'm cooking, or like one of the things that we'll be posting is when Mary goes on her walks with Winston, she just shares the joy that she experienced when she's walking our dog and sunny day, and and Mary's thoughts, and the same thing with me. It's like last weekend we went to the nursery and got some plants, and focusing on something that builds, like working in my garden, seeing things thrive, it just reassures me that you don't need a lot to thrive. You need the safe space, obviously, and people that love you, and conversations. Having conversations this week really lifted my spirits. Sharing ideas. When you care for somebody, or you care for a subject, showing them little gratitudes. Like, I think it's really important to show, like, surprise people, send them a little card and saying thank you for who you are, just gives you more joy. So I don't think there's certain meditations are more powerful than others. I just think that when you practice something that takes your mind off but focuses, that gives you joy, that's a form of meditation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that to me, I think is really important. And it doesn't take all day to do it. I mean, the EFT can take 5 minutes, or just certain parts of the EFT, or gardening takes whatever. If you want to go weed, or if you want to go look at plants, or if you want to go walk, or if you want to go ride your bike, or
yeah, and that's life.
Yeah.
That's life, as opposed to being so immersed in our headspace where we create the negativity for ourselves,
and I'm the last
being in a productive, happy, moving space.
Yeah. And I'm the last person to really, say everything's hunky-dory and everything, but I just know what I'm sharing is what works for me. Other people have other things that makes them happy, sharing experiences. And I think that's one of the things that I love about posture work. It's not, I mean, it's time for yourself to feed your mindset, to feed your soul holistically, and
get you moving.
Get you moving.
It's important.
And it doesn't have to be so hard. I think we work ourselves up in a state to where we convince ourselves not to do it because, like, oh, I don't want to do it. And it's all about motivation. Mary cannot force you to do it. She can share with you, she can encourage you, she can listen to why, all that kind of stuff. But, and that's her job. That's a job that she does as a coach, and she's your coach. She's not your trainer. She's not your PT person. She's a coach to help you embrace the new ways of working your body. And it's up to you on whether you take that advice. But it's definitely worth it as far as I'm concerned.
I got up and did it this morning. I feel like $1,000,000 and I'm ready for my day. So
well, and with that said, do you have any final words of our episode that we talked about? Is there anything that you want to kind of, repeat or follow up on some of the things? Like, what would you recommend somebody starting today, other than sign up for posture work, not PTX, that's the app, but sign up for posture work, or reach out to Mary, her website, and some resources that we've talked about in the past. And when we do mention, like, if I can find certain things for EFT, I'll put it down there. There's a lot of great YouTube channels and resources for that, so I'll put it down there. But do you have any final words on mindfulness and holistic and posture work?
I just think that a movement practice is essential. Much of our society, much of our daily lives lends us to sitting for hours on end. And some of it can be great because we're having coffee with our loved one, or we're very well employed at a great earning job, or driving in our awesome car, whatever. That's all great. But the body, the human animal, needs to move.
Yeah.
And movement is life. So
movement
get
is
up
life.
and do it.
Yeah. And it doesn't, what is it? It doesn't have to be perfect. The posture work, what is it? Perfection process is perfection. What is it?
Progress over perfection.
Progress over perfection. And I think that we'll end it there. If you're curious about posture work and green alignment, please reach out to myself or Mary. She's the coach. She would be happy to grab a phone call with you, or, just let us know. It's posture work with Mary Cay at gmail.com. All the information's below. Don't listen to me as far as like repeating the email, because I still need more coffee. But you guys have a wonderful Saturday, and we'll be chatting next week. I have no idea what the topic will be, but I'm hopefully getting the practice of sharing with you each week the next week's topic. But bear with us. Thank you for following, liking, commenting, and please share the channel, because I think this kind of information is really important to share and understand that we care and that we wishing you a wonderful day. So have a great day.
Bye.
And thanks for listening.